Okay. So once again, this is chapter 18, lesson 2. It's all about classifying different angles. Okay, so your learning goal for today is to be able to identify angles as acute, right, obtuse, or straight, which you already know. Very good. So let's talk first, before we can talk about angles, let's talk about lines. What is a line? Christian, what's a line?
A line is just a straight.
It's hard to describe. We all can see a line in our heads, but how would you describe it? Andre?
So it's basically it's the smallest distance from one point to another.
Okay, it could be, you can consider it the smallest point from one distance to another. However, that's not true because that's called a line segment. Okay, what do we know about lines? If I draw a line here, remember it's represented with arrows at the end, right? Why do I have those arrows at the ends, each end of a line? Kevin? It goes on and on and on forever. Does it ever end?
No.
Does it ever bend?
No.
It just goes on and on and on in a straight line forever. Okay, that's called a line. Now, a ray is where you have a point at one end, and the other end goes on and on and on forever. So does the left side, does it go on and on forever?
No.
Does the right side go on and on forever?
Yes.
And that's called a ray. Okay. When Andre was saying a line connects 2 points, are there arrows on either side of that line?
No.
Do they go on and on forever? So that's called a line segment. Okay? So what do angles have to do with lines? Why is it that we need to talk about lines before we can talk about angles? What's an angle? Sonal?
Angle is where two lines meet and then it's the degrees.
Yeah. So, but I have a line here, right? The top one's a line. What if I added a ray that connects to that line? What does that form? Forms angles. An angle is is the degrees between two lines or line segments or rays. So there's an angle there. There's also an angle here. There's also an angle here. Because now that I drew this ray here, is this like two different rays coming out from the same point? See that? Okay, so two rays that share an endpoint. Do you see how this ray and this ray share an endpoint right here? Yes. They form an angle, right? And the endpoint that they share, this point right here, is called the vertex. Okay. Remember how when we talked about two-dimensional or three-dimensional figures, we talked about the vertex being a corner? Do you see how this is kind of like a corner, the corner of the angle? Okay. A ray is a part of a line that begins at an endpoint and goes on forever in one direction, right? So here's a ray, right? D going on and on. See right here? This is a ray, right? Because here's the endpoint, and it goes on and on and on in that direction. So that's a ray. This is also a ray over here, right? Because here's the endpoint, and it goes on and on in that direction. This is also a ray, and this is also a ray. Yes? Two rays that share an endpoint form an angle. Do rays B and C share an endpoint? Do they form an angle?
Yes.
Okay. The shared endpoint is called the, what's it called? What's it called? The vertex. Okay. And a small arc is used to mark the angle. So when you show that there's an angle, you just draw a little arc like that, like I did in red. Okay. And this symbol right here is used to identify an angle. So you can identify this angle right here by drawing the little symbol and writing the letters B, D, and C. Okay, if you write that, then people know you're talking about this angle right here. Does that make sense? So let's try. How can I do this? Let me erase this. Erase all my drawings. How can I tell people that I'm talking about this angle? How can I label that angle? What can I do? Himon?
Angle.
Angle.
CDE.
C-D-E. Yep. How can I tell people I'm talking about this angle? How can I tell people I'm talking about that angle? Swati? C, D, and is it C, D, E?
Yes.
Is it CDE? How can I tell people I'm talking about this angle? C, D, F. There you go. Good. Do you guys see the difference between the blue angle and the black angle, right? Good. Okay. Now, we use tools called protractors to help us measure the angles, okay? There are lots of different types of angles, okay? And they're classified, they're categorized into 4 different groups, okay? The first angle is something called a right angle. Remember when we were talking about coordinate planes and we talked about perpendicular lines? What's a perpendicular line again? Arshi? What are perpendicular lines? On a diagonal? Okay. What are perpendicular lines? Perpendicular lines, gosh, I can just draw it on this. Perpendicular lines are lines that look like this, right? Remember we talked about them when we were doing coordinate grids? Are those perpendicular lines? And perpendicular means that they form what kind of angle? What kind of angle do these 2 lines form? Atharva?
Right.
Right angles. Right angles are exactly how many degrees? 90. Do those 2 lines form a 90-degree angle? So a right angle is, the measure of a right angle is equal to 90 degrees. So right here, angle JYZ is called a right angle because it's exactly how many degrees? 90. Yeah. Is an acute angle. An acute angle, it always sounds like the word cute to me. It's greater than 0 degrees and less than 90 degrees. So angle RYZ right here is an acute angle because it measures less than 90 degrees. My angle ABC was that it was 85 degrees. Was that an acute angle?
Yes.
Is 85 degrees less than 90 degrees?
Yes.
Is it greater than 0 degrees?
Yes.
So as long as it's in between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, it is an acute angle. If my angle is 89 degrees, is it a right angle?
No.
What kind of angle is it if it's 89 degrees? If it's 89 degrees. Ruba? It's an acute angle. Good. Okay, the third kind of angle is called an obtuse angle. An obtuse angle is greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Okay, so if you look at this protractor here, you can see that angle CYZ is, it's about, I would say, 140 degrees. Is that greater than 90?
Yes.
So what kind of angle is it?
Obtuse.
Obtuse. It's not 0 degrees, it's 180 degrees. Okay, so a straight line, if you measure it on the protractor, it's 180. And I'm going to prove it to you right now.